They informed me, "We will place you in a facility if you continue to bother us." My own children, whom I raised and for whom I sacrificed everything. They were unaware that I had already engaged a private investigator. When that investigator provided me with a dossier revealing their hidden actions, the subsequent events were astounding. My name is Diane Morrison, and I am 72 years old. I reside in a small town in Pennsylvania where I raised my family and envisioned a life filled with love and grandchildren. Instead, I found myself in the midst of a significant conflict with the very individuals I brought into this world. Before recounting my experiences, I would like to know where you are currently watching from. Please share your location in the comments. It brings me comfort to know there are others who understand the pain of familial betrayal. Now, let me take you back to the inception of this ordeal. 2 years ago, I was enjoying what I believed to be a peaceful retirement. My husband, Richard, had passed away 3 years prior after a brief struggle with pancreatic cancer. We had been married for 46 years, and losing him nearly shattered me. Yet I persevered. I had my home, a 4-bedroom colonial purchased in 1978, where we raised our 3 children. I had my garden, my book club, and my volunteer work at the local food bank. Richard had been a successful commercial real estate developer. While not wealthy by extravagant standards, he had done exceptionally well. Upon his passing, he left me our home fully paid off, a vacation property in the Poconos, and investment accounts totaling just over $2 million. He had meticulously arranged our estate planning. Everything was in order, or so I believed. Our 3 children, Jennifer, Michael, and Paul, had all moved away after college. Jennifer, our eldest at 48, resided in Connecticut with her husband Brad, a corporate attorney. They had 2 teenage daughters I seldom saw. Michael, 45, lived in Chicago working in finance, divorced with no children, and wholly devoted to his career. Paul, our youngest at 42, remained closest to home, living about an hour away in Philadelphia. He had married a woman named Ashley 5 years prior, his second marriage. After Richard's funeral, the children visited briefly, then returned to their lives. I understood. They had their own families and responsibilities. We spoke on the phone every few weeks and saw each other during holidays. Though it was not the close-knit family I had envisioned in my later years, it was what it was. Then, approximately 18 months ago, things began to shift. It started with phone calls, more frequent than usual. Initially, I was pleased. Jennifer would call and inquire in detail about my daily routine. Was I eating well, sleeping adequately, taking my medications on time? I took blood pressure medication and a statin, nothing unusual for someone my age. I reassured her that I was fine. "Mom, we worry about you being alone in that large house," she would say, her tone laced with concern that felt slightly off. "What if something happened? What if you fell?" "Jennifer, I am 70 years old, not 90, I would respond. "I walk 3 miles every morning. I am in better shape than half the people at my doctor's office." Yet the calls persisted. Michael joined the conversation, asking if I had considered downsizing. "That house is too much for you to maintain. Too many stairs, too much yard work. Wouldn't you be happier in a nice apartment or perhaps an active senior community?" "I am not ready for a nursing home, Michael," I replied more sharply than intended. "Not a nursing home, Mom, a senior community. They offer activities, meals, and companionship with people your own age. I have friends my age, my book club, my volunteer work. I am not interested." Then Paul became involved, and that was when I should have recognized the warning signs. Paul had always been the most financially astute among my children, likely due to his own struggles. He had experienced 2 failed businesses, a bankruptcy, and an expensive divorce from his first wife. When he married Ashley, I was happy for him but also cautious. Ashley was 15 years younger, attractive, and clearly interested in designer handbags and luxury vacations. Paul began asking about my financial situation. "Are you managing okay? Do you need assistance with the investment accounts? Perhaps you should add one of us to your bank accounts, just in case something happens." "Your father organized everything very well," I told him. "I have a financial advisor. Everything is fine." "But Mom, at your age, you may begin to have trouble keeping track of things. It happens. There's no shame in it." That phrase began to appear increasingly as if turning 70 meant my mental faculties had suddenly deteriorated. 3 months later, Jennifer and Brad made an unexpected visit. They arrived on a Saturday afternoon without prior notice, which was unusual since Jennifer typically planned everything weeks in advance. We were in the area, she claimed, although Connecticut was a 5-hour drive. We thought we would check on you. They surveyed my home as if conducting an inspection. Jennifer opened my refrigerator and checked the expiration dates on everything. She even looked in my medicine cabinet and commented on the dust accumulating on the upper shelves of Richard's old office. "Mom, when was the last time you cleaned in here?" "I don't go into that room much anymore," I admitted. "Keeping Richard's office as he left it brings me comfort." "It's hard." Jennifer and Brad exchanged a long, significant look that excluded me entirely. "What?" I inquired. "Nothing, Mom. We are just concerned. This house is clearly too much for you. It is one room that I choose not to use. That does not mean the house is too much." Brad then interjected, adopting his lawyer tone. "Diane, Jennifer tells me you have been forgetting things. Phone calls you do not remember and appointments you have missed." My blood ran cold. "That is not true. Who told you that?" "You called Jennifer 3 times in one evening last month. Do you not remember? You kept asking her the same questions about Thanksgiving plans." I stared at my daughter. "Jennifer, I called you once. We spoke about Thanksgiving. I do not know what you are referring to." She gave me that pitying look, a look one might give a confused elderly individual who could not recall the day. "Mom, you called 3 times. I was worried, but I did not want to upset you." I felt as if I were losing my mind. Had I called 3 times? I was certain I had not. But Jennifer appeared so confident, and Brad was nodding in agreement, causing me to doubt myself. They departed that evening, but not before Jennifer embraced me tightly and whispered, "We love you, Mom. We will take care of you." Those words made my skin crawl. 2 weeks later, Michael flew in from Chicago. He took me to lunch at my favorite restaurant and spent the entire meal discussing a wonderful assisted living facility where a colleague's mother had moved. "She absolutely loves it, Mom. Her own apartment, but with staff available 24/7. Meals provided, social activities, transportation to doctor's appointments. She says it is like living in a resort." "Michael, I do not want to live in a facility. I want to remain in my home. But do you not feel lonely? Would you not prefer to be around people?" "I am around people. I have a full life." He sighed, and I noticed frustration flash across his face. "Mom, we are trying to help you. Why are you being so difficult?" Difficult. That was a new accusation. The final straw came on a Thursday in October. I was in my garden planting bulbs for spring when Paul and Ashley arrived unannounced. Ashley remained in the car while Paul came to find me. "Mom, we need to talk inside." Something in his tone compelled me to put down my trowel and follow him. We sat at my kitchen table, and he produced a folder. "I have been doing some research," he stated. "I found an excellent continuing care retirement community about 45 minutes from here. They offer independent living, assisted living, and memory care all on one campus. It is perfect." "Paul, I do not need." "Just look at it," he urged, pushing a glossy brochure toward me. "It is beautiful, and the best part is they have immediate availability. We could arrange for you to move in within 60 days. "Paul, I am not moving anywhere." His jaw tightened. "Mom, this is not sustainable. You are 72 years old, living alone in a 4-bedroom house. You are showing signs of memory loss. We are your children. We must consider what is best for you. I am perfectly capable of thinking for myself, and I do not appreciate you treating me as if I am incompetent." "No one is saying you are incompetent, but changes occur as we age. It is natural, and it is our responsibility to ensure your safety." I stood up. "I am returning to my garden. This conversation is over." "Mom." "Over, Paul." He departed, but as I observed him getting into the car with Ashley, I noticed her turn to him with an angry expression. They remained in the car arguing for several minutes before driving away. That night, I could not sleep. I replayed all the conversations, visits, and pressure. Then I remembered something Richard had told me years prior when we faced a business dispute. "Trust your gut, Diane. When something feels wrong, it usually is." My intuition was screaming that something was terribly amiss. The following morning, I did something I never anticipated. I called a private investigator. I located a firm online, Blackwell Investigations, based in Philadelphia. When I called, a woman with a warm voice connected me to one of their investigators, a man named Tom Reeves. "Mrs. Morrison," he said upon my explanation, "I will be honest with you. What you are describing is more common than you might think. Adult children attempting to gain control of their elderly parents' assets. Can you elaborate?" I detailed everything: the phone calls, the pressure to relocate, the unfounded accusations of memory loss, and the sudden interest in my finances. "Have you noticed any unusual financial activity?" he inquired. "No, but I review my accounts weekly. Everything seems normal." "What about documents? Has anyone asked you to sign anything?" I recalled that Paul had requested me to sign some papers last month, claiming they were for estate planning updates my attorney recommended. However, when I called my attorney to confirm, he was unaware of any such documents. After a moment of silence, Tom asked, "Mrs. Morrison, did you sign those papers?" "No. I informed Paul that I wanted my attorney to review them first. He became upset and took them back." "Good. Very good. Mrs. Morrison, I believe you are right to be concerned. I would like to take your case. My fee is $150 an hour plus expenses. I will require a retainer of $3,000 to begin." The cost gave me pause, but only momentarily. This was my life, my home, and my sanity at stake. "When can you start?" "Immediately." Over the next 6 weeks, Tom Reeves proved to be worth every penny I paid him. He began by conducting background checks on all 3 of my children and their spouses. The findings made my heart sink. Paul and Ashley were in severe financial distress. They had taken out a second mortgage on their home 6 months prior and carried over $80,000 in credit card debt. Ashley's boutique business was failing, and they were behind on their car payments. Jennifer and Brad were also struggling. Brad's law firm had lost several major clients, forcing them to withdraw their daughters from private school. Their Connecticut home was in pre-foreclosure. Michael's situation was the most dire. He had made catastrophic investment decisions and lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he was being sued by former clients. "All 3 of your children are facing serious financial issues," Tom informed me during a meeting at his office. "And all 3 began encountering these problems around the same time they started pressuring you." "They want my money," I stated. "They desire more than that. Mrs. Morrison, I must disclose something else. I have been monitoring their phone records legally through connections I possess. Your children have been in frequent contact with each other almost daily. They have also communicated with an attorney named Robert Marsh. Are you familiar with him?" I shook my head. "He specializes in elder law, particularly in guardianship and conservatorship cases." The room seemed to tilt. "Guardianship? If they can have you declared incompetent, they can petition the court for guardianship." "But I am not incompetent." "I know that. You know that. However, if they can create the appearance of incompetence, obtain doctor's endorsements, and present evidence of memory loss, they might convince a judge." I felt nauseous. The phone calls Jennifer claimed I made, the memory lapses they kept mentioning, they were fabricating everything. "Probably," Tom replied, "but they may be doing more. Mrs. Morrison, have you noticed any changes in how you feel? Fatigue, confusion, dizziness?" I considered it. "Actually, yes, I have felt foggy for the past month or so. My doctor thought it might be due to my blood pressure medication." Tom leaned closer. "When did Paul and Ashley last visit?" "About 6 weeks ago." "Why?" "Did they have access to your kitchen, your medications?" The implication hit me like a physical blow. "Do you suspect they are drugging me?" "I believe it is worth investigating. Do you still have those medication bottles?" I did. Tom sent them to a lab for testing. The results returned 3 days later. My blood pressure medication had been tampered with. Someone had mixed in a sedative, not enough to cause serious harm, but sufficient to induce confusion, fatigue, and memory issues. I sat in Tom's office, staring at the lab report, feeling my world shatter. My own children, my beloveds, whom I had nurtured and sacrificed for, were poisoning me. "There is more," Tom said quietly, sliding another folder across his desk. "I have been monitoring their emails. They have been corresponding with Robert Marsh regarding your evaluation. They have already contacted 2 doctors who specialize in dementia assessments. They are building a case. If you find this unbelievable, if you are shocked that children would act this way toward their mother, please hit that subscribe button right now, because what I am about to reveal regarding their plans for me will infuriate you. These stories must be shared. Other families need to understand what can transpire when money corrupts love. So subscribe and let us continue. Tom continued his investigation with tenacity. He tracked down the attorney Robert Marsh and discovered he had handled at least a dozen guardianship cases in the past 3 years, all involving elderly parents with substantial assets and adult children eager to take control. It is a racket, Tom explained. The attorney receives significant fees and often gets appointed as a professional guardian or conservator, which generates even more fees. The children gain access to the assets. Everyone benefits except the elderly individual who loses their freedom and finances. The most disturbing part was what Tom uncovered in their emails. Jennifer had written to her brothers, "The house alone is worth at least $600,000. The property in the Poconos is another $300,000, plus the investment accounts. Once we secure guardianship, we can sell everything and divide it 3 ways. Mom will not need much in the facility." Michael responded, "We must ensure we document everything. Keep noting the memory lapses. I will call her next week and ask questions she just answered. Then I will email everyone stating that she is repeating herself." But Paul's email was the cruelest. "Ashley is working on the medication angle. The confusion should worsen over the next few weeks. We need to act quickly before she becomes suspicious or informs anyone." They were conspiring, actively and deliberately scheming to steal my life. Tom also discovered they had initiated the legal process. Robert Marsh had filed preliminary paperwork for a guardianship evaluation. They had scheduled me for a cognitive assessment with Dr. Philip Harrison, a neurologist who, according to Tom's research, had a troubling history of diagnosing dementia in elderly patients, particularly those whose families were clients of Robert Marsh. "When is this appointment?" I inquired. "Next Tuesday at 2. They never informed me about this appointment. They do not have to. They are likely planning to present it as a routine checkup. If Dr. Harrison diagnoses you with dementia or cognitive decline, they will use that as the basis for the guardianship petition." I felt trapped and terrified. These were my children, transformed into strangers willing to destroy me for money. "Tom, what should I do?" He looked at me with a semblance of respect. "You must fight back, and you must do it intelligently. First, we need to protect your assets. Tomorrow, we will meet with your attorney and your financial advisor. We will make changes to your accounts, your will, your power of attorney, everything. We will secure it all so they cannot access anything." "Will that prevent them from obtaining my money?" "Yes. From attempting to secure guardianship? No. For that, we need to demonstrate your competence and expose their actions. We need our own medical evaluation from a doctor they have not influenced. We need evidence of their conspiracy, and we need to confront them in a manner that renders it impossible for them to continue." "How?" "We will give them exactly what they believe they want. You will attend the appointment with Dr. Harrison, but you will not be alone. I will accompany you with a recording device, and we will inform the doctor of his relationship with Robert Marsh. Should he issue a fraudulent diagnosis, he will face the loss of his medical license and potential criminal charges." As for my children, Tom's expression grew serious. "We will catch them in the act." The following day, I met with my attorney, Marcus Webb, who had managed Richard's estate and had been my lawyer for 20 years. Upon explaining the situation, his face paled. "Diane, this is serious. This constitutes criminal conspiracy, elder abuse, and potentially attempted fraud. We must act immediately." We spent 4 hours restructuring everything. My assets were transferred into an irrevocable trust with Marcus as the trustee. My power of attorney documents were updated to specifically exclude my children and designate Marcus and Tom as my agents. My will was modified to include a clause stating that any heir who contested the will or attempted to gain unauthorized control over my assets would be entirely disinherited. "This is airtight," Marcus declared upon completion. "They cannot access anything. Even if they somehow secured guardianship, which they will not, the trust remains protected." That same afternoon, I met with my financial advisor, Karen Matthews, and transferred all my accounts to a different institution unknown to my children. Every statement and notification would now be directed to Marcus's office, not my home address. You are making the right decision, Karen assured me. I have seen this before. Adult children viewing their parents' estates as their inheritance, forgetting that it is not their money yet and perhaps never will be. With my assets secured, it was time for the next phase of Tom's plan. The following Tuesday, I drove to Dr. Harrison's office while Tom followed in his own vehicle, arriving 15 minutes before my appointment. He dressed professionally, carrying a briefcase that concealed recording equipment, entirely legal in Pennsylvania, where only one party needs to consent to recording. Upon checking in, the receptionist appeared surprised. "Mrs. Morrison, we were not expecting you." "I have a 2 appointment for a cognitive evaluation." She frowned as she checked her computer. "I see it here, but typically family members accompany patients for these appointments. I prefer to manage my own medical care. Thank you." Tom appeared beside me. "I am Mrs. Morrison's attorney, Tom Reeves. I will be observing this evaluation to ensure it is conducted properly." The receptionist's eyes widened. "I will inform Dr. Harrison." We waited for 20 minutes, then 30. Finally, Dr. Harrison emerged, a silver-haired man in his 60s with barely concealed irritation. "Mrs. Morrison, I am Dr. Harrison. I understand you brought an attorney." "That is correct. Is that a problem?" "No, no problem. Just unusual. Please come back." In his office, Dr. Harrison attempted to conduct the evaluation, but Tom interrupted frequently, questioning the purpose of each test, the validity of the assessment tools, and the doctor's qualifications. "Dr. Harrison," Tom finally stated, pulling out his phone and placing it on the desk, "I want to clarify something. We are aware of your relationship with attorney Robert Marsh. We know you've diagnosed dementia in 14 elderly patients over the past 2 years, all of whom subsequently became subjects of guardianship petitions filed by Mr. Marsh. We are also aware that Mrs. Morrison's children have been in contact with Mr. Marsh regarding a guardianship case." Dr. Harrison's face turned pale. "I do not know what you are implying." "I am not implying anything. I am stating facts. If you issue a diagnosis of cognitive decline for Mrs. Morrison, who is demonstrably mentally competent, it will be considered fraudulent. We will file complaints with the state medical board and pursue criminal charges for conspiracy to commit elder abuse. Are we clear?" The doctor abruptly stood. "This evaluation is over." "So you will not be issuing a report?" Tom asked pleasantly. "Get out of my office." We left. In the parking lot, Tom smiled. "That went perfectly. He will not touch this case now. Without his medical diagnosis, their guardianship petition collapses. But they will attempt something else." "Oh, I am counting on it." Tom's strategy for the final confrontation was elegantly simple. We would invite all 3 of my children to my home for Sunday dinner. They would be unaware of each other's invitations, the evidence we had gathered, and that everything would be recorded. I made the phone calls that Wednesday, my voice trembling but resolute. "Jennifer, I have been reflecting on what you mentioned regarding the house being too much. I would like to discuss it with you. Could you come for dinner on Sunday?" She struggled to conceal her excitement. "Of course, Mom. Brad and I will be there." Similar calls were made to Michael and Paul, each believing they were receiving a private meeting to discuss my care needs. Each was eager to attend. On Sunday afternoon, I prepared a pot roast, Richard's favorite, and set the dining room table with our fine china. Tom and Marcus were upstairs in Richard's office, monitoring the recording equipment we had set up throughout the first floor. Jennifer and Brad arrived first at 3, followed by Paul and Ashley at 3:15, and Michael at 3:30. The confusion on their faces upon seeing each other would have been amusing had the situation not been so tragic. "Mom, what is happening?" Jennifer inquired. "Family dinner," I replied simply. "Please, everyone, take a seat." They complied, exchanging puzzled glances. I served the pot roast, roasted vegetables, and dinner rolls, while pouring wine and engaging in small talk about the weather and neighbors, nothing of substance. Finally, Paul could no longer contain himself. "Mom, why did you call us all here?" I set down my fork and looked at each of my children in turn, my babies, my betrayers. I wanted to discuss my future. You have all expressed so much concern regarding my living situation, my memory, and my ability to manage my affairs, so I thought we should address it as a family. Jennifer leaned forward. That is wonderful, Mom. We are so pleased you are ready to make some changes. Oh, I have already made changes, I stated. Quite a few, actually. Something in my tone caused Michael to tense. What kind of changes? Well, first, I have established an irrevocable trust for all my assets, managed by my attorney Marcus Webb. None of you are beneficiaries of the trust during my lifetime. Silence enveloped the room. Then Jennifer spoke, her voice cautious. Mom, why would you do that? For protection. I discovered something concerning. I found out that my own children have been conspiring to have me declared incompetent so you can gain control over my estate. The room erupted. That is absurd. Mom, who told you that? We would never. I raised my hand. Please allow me to finish. I engaged a private investigator 6 weeks ago. His name is Tom Reeves, and he has been quite thorough. I opened the folder I had placed on the table earlier. Tom discovered that all three of you are in significant financial trouble. Paul and Ashley, you carry over $80,000 in credit card debt and are on the verge of losing your home. Jennifer and Brad, you are facing foreclosure in Connecticut. Michael, you are being sued by former clients and are facing bankruptcy. How dare you investigate us? Ashley exclaimed. We are your family? Family? I echoed. Yes, let us discuss family. Tom also uncovered that you have been in contact with an attorney named Robert Marsh, who specializes in guardianship cases. You have been planning to have me evaluated by a corrupt doctor who would diagnose me with dementia. You have conspired to sell my home, my property, and liquidate my assets. Paul rose from his seat. This is insane. You are paranoid. This is precisely why we are worried about you. Sit down, Paul, I said, my voice steady. I am not finished. Tom also discovered that someone has been tampering with my medication. The blood pressure pills you provided me, the ones you claimed came from my pharmacy, were laced with sedatives, enough to induce confusion and memory issues. Ashley's face flushed with anger. You cannot prove that. Actually, I can. I had the pills tested. The lab report is in this folder, along with a statement from my pharmacist confirming that those pills did not come from my prescription. So yes, Ashley, I can prove it. The police can prove it. The police? Jennifer's voice was faint. Elder abuse is a crime. Conspiracy to commit fraud is a crime. Drugging someone without their consent is a crime. I possess evidence of all three, along with your emails discussing this entire scheme. Michael's legal instincts kicked in. Any emails you have were procured illegally and would not be admissible. Actually, they were obtained through legal means by a licensed private investigator. Even if they were not admissible in criminal court, they are certainly sufficient to disinherit all three of you, which I have already done. You cannot disinherit us, Paul shouted. I absolutely can. My new will directs all assets to charity. If any of you contest it, you receive nothing. If any of you attempt to gain guardianship or conservatorship over me, you receive nothing, and I will pursue criminal charges. Are we clear? Jennifer was now in tears. Mom, please. You weren't really going to what? Drug me? Lie to doctors? Sell my home out from under me? Place me in a facility? Mom, I read your emails. I know exactly what you intended to do. At that moment, Tom and Marcus descended the stairs. Mrs. Morrison, Marcus said, I believe we have everything we need. My children stared at the two men, realization dawning on their faces. You recorded this, Michael stated flatly. Every word, Tom confirmed. And it is all legal, single-party consent state. Mrs. Morrison consented to record conversations in her own home. Paul jumped up. Mom, we can explain. You can explain what? You were trying to help by stealing from me? By poisoning me? By destroying my reputation and independence? That is not help, Paul. That is abuse. We needed the money, Ashley screamed. You have millions just sitting there while we are drowning in debt. You are old. You do not need all that money. The ugly truth was finally spoken. Leave, I said quietly. All of you, leave my house. Mom, please. Jennifer reached for me. Do not touch me. Do not call me. Do not return. You are no longer my children. You are strangers who happen to share my DNA. If you attempt to contact me again, if you execute any part of your plan, I will pursue every available criminal charge. Tom has all the evidence prepared. The choice is yours." They exited, with Brad nearly carrying a sobbing Jennifer. Ashley shouted threats about lawyers until Paul pulled her out the door. Michael simply glared at me with hatred and left without a word. When the door closed behind them, my legs gave way. Tom caught me and assisted me to the couch. "You did it," he said. "You did exactly what you needed to do." Yet I did not feel victorious. I felt shattered. The next day, I filed for a restraining order against all three of my children. Marcus presented the evidence: the tampered medication, the emails, the conspiracy with Robert Marsh, the fraudulent guardianship attempt. The judge granted it immediately. I also reported the case to Adult Protective Services and provided them with all of Tom's findings. Robert Marsh is currently facing disbarment proceedings, and Dr. Harrison is under investigation by the State Medical Board. As for my children, they made one final attempt. Jennifer hired an attorney who sent a letter claiming I had been unduly influenced by Tom and Marcus, asserting that I was incompetent and did not comprehend my actions. Marcus responded with a letter of his own, along with an evaluation from an independent geriatric psychiatrist confirming my complete mental competence. We never heard from them again. I will not pretend this has a happy ending. I lost my children, my grandchildren, and the family I envisioned in my later years. Some days the grief is overwhelming, yet I also gained something: my freedom, my dignity, and the knowledge that I was strong enough to fight back when it mattered most. I remain in my home, still walking 3 miles every morning, still volunteering at the food bank, still living the life I choose on my own terms. My message to anyone watching is straightforward: trust your instincts. If something feels wrong within your family, it likely is. Do not dismiss your gut feeling simply because those hurting you are supposed to love you. If you find yourself in a situation like mine, document everything, seek help, and fight back. You deserve to live with dignity, not as a victim of those who should protect you. The money Richard and I worked so hard for will now support organizations that assist the elderly in safeguarding themselves against exploitation. In a way that feels appropriate. Some good will emerge from this nightmare. I am still here, still standing, and I won. That is what counts. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it assists someone facing a similar nightmare. You are not alone, and you are stronger than you realize. Please subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. With love and respect.